Good afternoon, IAS. Good afternoon, class of 2008. IAS families, friends, staff, and faculty. I'm Ananya Roy, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs for International and Area Studies. And on behalf of Dean John Lee, I welcome you to the 2008 Commencement Ceremony. This is a joyous occasion, one where we celebrate the achievements of our 2008 graduates, recognize their hard work, and look ahead to the future with them. It is also an occasion to celebrate the unique and important mission of the International and Area Studies teaching program and of its various majors, and also an occasion to celebrate the unusual endeavor that is the University of California, Berkeley. Cal prides itself on not only being a world-class research university, but also a world-class public university, where the most sophisticated and influential research is brought into the undergraduate classroom, one where knowledge has a public dimension, one where the project of training the next generation of Californians, Americans, and global citizens is not idle talk, but an everyday enterprise. This is the magic of Cal. I forgot to say that we should turn off our cell phones. Our Cal students are participants and leaders in this wonderful project. They teach us every day with their passion. And the class of 2008 has demonstrated this with dedication and excellence. Our IAS graduates are headed to a dizzying range of opportunities. From graduate school at MIT and Oxford and Columbia and the London School of Economics and the Berkeley School of Law, to the Peace Corps, to Teach for America, to jobs at public health departments and global investment banks, jobs at the government of Maharashtra, India, to Google, California, to Mitsubishi Corporation in Japan, and travel. Travel to Tanzania, China, Argentina, Chiapas. Our 2008 graduates have prepared for these exciting futures by taking courses in classical and contemporary theories of political economy and development. They have wrestled with questions of human rights and human security and the possibility of a cosmopolitan world. They have learned many languages and thought deeply about how these languages situate us in different world regions, from Latin America to the Middle East. In some cases, they have fallen in love with the tools of our intellectual trade, from econometric analysis to global ethnographies. And most of all, they have blasted open the idea of learning in and within the classroom. For their learning has taken place also in field research, in study abroad, in internships, in public service, in the rugby team, in decal courses, in globally oriented student groups, in the McNair Scholars Program, in the residence halls, in the Greek honor societies, and quite often in the very crowded lobby of IASTP in Stevens Hall, teeming with peer advisors, impatient students, busy advisors, and also our friendly Anna Romay. In all that can be imagined, but much that transcends mundane imagination. They have made us proud, and we believe that they will continue to make us proud as they head into the world, into the 21st century. But this work would not be possible without some key people: IAS faculty, IAS staff, and IAS families. I want to acknowledge each of these groups. Let me start with our very distinguished faculty who are gathered here today. Michael Watts, Director, Rotary World Peace Fellows Program and Chair of the Development Studies Program. Nizar Al-Sayed, Chair of Middle Eastern Studies. Alan Karras, Director of the Honours Programme. Gillian Hart, Chair of Development Studies. Estelle Tariqa, Chair of Latin American Studies. Jerry Sanders, Chair of Peace and Conflict Studies. Brad DeLong, Chair of Political Economy of Industrial Societies. Emily Gottridge, Middle Eastern Studies. I can't actually see all my faculty. Claire Talwarkar, IAS. Laura Nathan, IAS. Edith Ng, Peace and Conflict Studies. Julie Shackford Bradley, Peace and Conflict Studies and IAS. Darren Zook, IAS and Peace and Conflict Studies. Francesca Giovanni, Peace and Conflict Studies. Louis Seagal, Latin American Studies. Martin Brennan, IAS and Director of the International House. And Scott Bailey, IAS and PEIS. I want to take a minute to acknowledge our staff who have made possible not only this event, but our lives in IASTP. Vida Prater. Vida is somewhere at the back. Kayoko Wakamatsu. Tongdam Patumtong. Nan Hora. Anna Romay. And our many staff colleagues from other units who have volunteered to help us today, the IAS Dean's Office, the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, the Berkeley Programs for Study Abroad, and the Blum Center for Developing Economies. I would now like to ask the class of 2008 to rise and acknowledge their families and loved ones, to thank them for the innumerable ways in which they have made it possible for all of you to be Cal graduates. And now we're going to move on to the real business of today, our keynote speeches and then the conferral of degrees. I now invite one of our most distinguished and beloved faculty, Professor Michael Watts, to conduct the next part of our commencement ceremony. Michael Watts is Professor of Geography and Chair of our Development Studies Program. He is also Director of the Rotary World Peace Fellows Program, and has been honored and recognized on this campus, nationally and internationally, for his research, scholarship, and teaching. Michael Watts.
Thank you, Ananya, very much. And it's a great honor and pleasure to be here this afternoon to be able to celebrate with the students, the graduating class, and with the parents. There are a number of qualities, attributes, which distinguish the sorts of students that ultimately gravitate toward the international and area studies programs and ultimately cause them to declare their majors within it. One, of course, is that the students, if I may quote Garrison Keillor, are always above average. Yes, exactly. Secondly, they're a peculiar bunch in a way because, in many ways, but one way in particular I'm thinking of, because unlike the vast majority of students on this campus who gravitate toward disciplines, public health, sociology, environmental studies, these IAS programs are interdisciplinary. And so, in a sense, then the students have to show a certain type of proclivity, a certain type of originality, a certain type of intellectual inquisitiveness to even locate these programs and then gravitate toward them. Thirdly, of course, all of these programs are internationalist in their focus. And to that extent, all of the students, almost by definition, have to have an inquisitiveness about the world, about the role of America in the world, and the significance of understanding globalization in its multifaceted aspects. And last but not least, all of the students, it seems to me, and this is perhaps what makes them, in my experience on this campus, God forbid, 30 years, very, very distinctive. And that is their desire to somehow take their learning out of the classroom into the world, to break down, to move through the porous boundary between the academy and the world of practice. And it seems to me that all of these attributes that I've just described are very much embodied in our student speaker today in a dramatic and rather wonderful and impressive way. Adil Iqbal is a... I didn't say what he is. Adil is a development studies major, and he's concentrated in his studies on modern China, although he is simultaneously, in that sort of A-type personality way, also acquiring a minor in the Goldman School of Public Policy. He completed an undergraduate thesis, an honors thesis, which addressed the question of high-efficiency diode-based lighting systems for illumination, lanterns, as a solution to village household lighting problems and rural development more generally in India. As I perhaps inferred previously, Adil has been very active outside of the classroom. He's an alumni leadership scholar and has been since he arrived on campus. He's been editor-in-chief and president of the Daily California campus newspaper. Yes, I learned over lunch, actually, that according to a recent poll, most California undergraduates get most of their news from the Daily Californian. You may consider that mildly terrifying. I'll leave that to your own judgment. In addition, he participated a year or so ago in a US State Department conference on the differences in the ways in which the Muslim community have been socialized into Western Europe versus the United States. And that raises for me one of the most distinguished things that Adil has thrown himself into in the last few years. And that is speaking out publicly, particularly into Bay Area schools, where he's been a tireless speaker around Islam and Muslim identity. As you all know, particularly since 9/11, it's been difficult to have a sane conversation, particularly in the American media, about Islam and being a Muslim. I remember vividly how the president of Brown, right after 9/11, said, right now it's almost impossible in the public discourse to see Islam or a Muslim as anything other than a problem. And that seems to me, that degradation of public discourse about a great world religion and about a powerful form of religious identification is something which Adil has taken head on in his work and speaking through the Islamic Speakers Bureau. Finally, he served last summer as an internship in the US Embassy in New Delhi, and he will in fact be heading back to India after graduation, where he'll be working on a water sanitation problem and an education program in Karnataka over the course of the next year. It's an enormous pleasure and privilege for me to introduce Mr. Adil Iqbal to address us this afternoon.
Parents, faculty, staff, alumni, esteemed guests, and my fellow students. I greet you all with the universal greeting of peace for Muslims. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be with you. Hard to believe, but we're finally here. It didn't quite hit me until 2 weeks ago that this was really it. More than 4 years of study at UC Berkeley have come to an end. It began to settle with me the other night when I got home from thesis writing after Moffitt Library closes at 2 a.m. As I was walking into my room, I took notice of something that I had become so used to passing by. My roommate and I have this odd habit of taping up on our bedroom door every fortune cookie quote we get after every scrumptious meal at Mandarin House on Durant and Shenhua on College, places I know many of us will miss dearly. I stopped myself and began to read the messages over again. My eyes stopped on one in particular. A foot of jade is no value. An inch of time should be highly prized. This time, these words seem to have a special meaning. An inch of time should be highly prized. It struck me. My time at Cal is over. So I began to think, as many of us students tend to do in the wee hours of the night, what have I done over these past years? What has all this meant? My circle of thoughts took me through blue books, more blue books, S&D curves, the smell of mocha at FSM, through squirrels, big fat ones chasing after each other in spring, realizing exactly how many reader pages I had not read the night before a test, through Robert Price's thick New York accent and poli-sci 2 spouting out the socio-political benefits and consequences of the command economy, through making the most important decisions of the world in Eshelman Hall, to laying back with my homie for life and checking out Cal's finest on Sproul. I hope his girlfriend's not here. Wait, she is, as is my mom. Awkward. I also thought of standing strong in the pouring rain, yelling at the top of my lungs as we watched Marshawn and the Bears destroy the Oregon football team at homecoming 2 years ago. And about late night / twilight chatter about values and ethics in the dorms. And about sleeping in class in Wheeler, and sleeping in Northgate, and sleeping in 155 Dwinell. Just sleeping pretty much anywhere, really. My thoughts, as I'm sure would be true for many of us, however, sort of landed abroad. For me, it was India, which I visited for the first time last summer to intern in the economics section of the US Embassy in New Delhi. It was there that I truly began to understand the value of my Berkeley education, and in particular, my IAS degree, which the two speakers before have pointed out. I can remember walking into Ambassador David C. Mulford's office a few weeks into my internship and hearing him discuss the incredible economic growth in India. He expressed his enthusiasm for the entry of private players in the country's retail sector and cited a Wall Street Journal article about what he termed the excellent partnership between Bharti Enterprises and Walmart. This deal, he said, would make India's retail sector more efficient and bring greater profits to the local farmer. As he made his remarks, I began to think back on Professor Hart and Professor Roy's lectures on big D and little d development. It's about space and place, guys, Professor Hart would say, and the interrelations between the state, the market, and the civil society. As my fellow interns listened intently, I decided to raise my hand to ask a question. Mr. Ambassador, I said, I completely agree that India is experiencing profound economic growth at this stage, but the fruits of this growth is concentrated in the hands of a small percentage of the population and not being allocated to the poor. How do we reconcile this? The ambassador, former chairman international of Credit Suisse First Boston, as I asked this question, cusped his hands together, looked away from me at the ground, and breathed in deeply as if reflecting. I began conjuring up his thoughts in my head as he did this. Great, he's branded you a Berkeley liberal already. Mulford responded clearly. The term you use, allocation, is the root of the inefficiencies in this country. The way allocation works is that some bureaucrat decides that some portion of the population needs welfare, and a pot is created to distribute that welfare. But the pot never gets refilled. It's not sustainable. Private enterprise helps to reduce these inefficiencies. It creates jobs. I could hear the voice of Professor Hart in the back of my head. It was like this was straight out of lecture. It all got me to think. For one, it allowed me to see the application of all that dense theory we've learned in literal practice. I began to understand the value of the intellectual toolbox and interdisciplinary approach this institution and our department have given us. Here, at the greatest public institution of the world, home to 20 Nobel laureates, we have learned how to think, how to analyze, and how to solve. This institution helped us to ask the question, why? Here we've been educated and inspired by people like Darren Zook, Jerry Sanders, Emily Gottrich, Stephanie Ballinger, and Alan Karras, true ballers, who have challenged us, pushed us, and at times made us want to cry. Okay, maybe that last part was just Professor Karras. But we have come out better people because of it. Alongside this institution's academic rigor, we have been surrounded by people and organizations that have helped us grow. Much of our growth has come outside the classroom, through our friends, in the social and student groups we have involved ourselves with, and the interactions we have had with our roommates and even landlords when trying really hard to get something fixed. As much as students poke fun at our student government for taking itself too seriously, something that can be said about pretty much any student organization in this super-driven campus, it is a place that has helped students affirm their opinions and identities, communicate their positions, and build grassroots coalitions. It has helped students develop the professional capacity to address important issues of the day. So it is true of the Bridges Multicultural Resource Center, the SLC, the Daily Cal, Berkeley Hillel, the Asian Business Association, and the Muslim Student Association. It is also true of the people who made these organizations what they are. Among our fellow students, who we have been able to call true friends and classmates, we have had people like Nader Shams, who not only brought Jimmy Carter to campus, but will be the world's next Jimmy Carter. People like Alex Fraser, who I have no doubt we will see negotiating hostage crisis situations in Latin America and questioning the roots of the war on drugs in our near future. People like Brian Whitley, who will educate the masses from the front page of the New York Times. People like Fred, ladies form a line, Taylor Hochberg, who will find the real solution for climate change while making us laugh about it. And people like Van Nguyen, ASU president, who will change the way each person he meets thinks about their world. People like Tala Mohibi, who will analyze and dissect the treatment and rights of women in Central Asia and the Middle East and become the next Shirin Ebadi. These friends and faculty and colleagues have pushed us to achieve what we thought unimaginable and given us the courage and capacity to ask the tough questions when it matters most. Unfortunately, more often than not, we have taken it all for granted. In all honesty, we're simply lucky to be here, to celebrate our accrual of knowledge. Countless individuals have not had this opportunity, simply because they could not afford it, they didn't have the access, or because their life was too short. As Chancellor Birgeneau reminded us at yesterday evening's convocation, Chris Wooten could have been with us today. He's not. A note of a good friend of mine on Facebook last week noted this sentiment all too perfectly. To those of us worried about finals, he wrote, "I think we need to rethink exactly how blessed we are." And he had a link to an article on the storm toll of the cyclone in Burma. It could exceed 100,000. Alongside all these opportunities, we have been blessed with loved ones who have supported us, encouraged us, and kept us focused so that we could be seated at the ceremony today. Parents and siblings, to you, we are especially grateful. Abu and Ami, I would not be here were it not for your constant encouragement and for always keeping me focused on the greater goal in life. Pops, for letting me know I'm an idiot, keeping me down to earth. Ami, for that beautiful smile and your prayers. And AI, for being the best mentor a man could ask for and coming all the way out from the UK to be here today. To all my boys who made it out, we throw it up one last time at Cal. Awesome, to you I owe a special thanks. It's just the beginning, homie. We owe it, I thank you and Nader and Yuthika and IAS, Kayoko, Rhonda and Tongdam, Nan, Anna, Vida, Professor Roy, Katie and Pam for the opportunity to be up here today. We owe it to all of these people and to our alma mater to press forward and make a difference in others' lives, to improve society, and to build communities. We have been blessed, and it is for this reason alone that we have a duty to press on. No matter what it is that we do or where it is that we end up, we have an obligation to hold strong the values we have cultivated at this school, both in the classroom and outside, to help others, to ask the right questions, and to give back. Keeping these values intact, I have no doubt each and every one of us in this graduating class will go out and change the world, all in different ways, times, and places. To me, each of us embodies real change we can believe in. The challenges that confront us today are ours to answer, and we have a duty to answer them well. It is Robert F. Kennedy speaking at the University of Cape Town in Cape Town, South Africa, on June 6, 1966, who I leave you with, that stated this responsibility of ours best. Our answer is the world's hope. It is to rely on youth. The cruelties and obstacles of the swiftly changing planet will not yield to obsolete dogmas and outworn slogans. It cannot be moved by those who cling to a present which is already dying, who prefer the illusion of security to the excitement and danger which comes with even the most peaceful progress. This world demands the qualities of youth, not a time of life, but a state of mind, a temper of the will, a quality of the imagination, a predominance of courage over timidity, of the appetite for adventure over the love of ease. It is a revolutionary world we live in, and thus, as I have said, in Latin America and Asia, in Europe and in the United States, it is young people who must take the lead. Thus, you and your young compatriots everywhere have had thrust upon you a greater burden of responsibility than any generation that has ever lived. Thank you, may God bless, and go Bears.
Thank you, Adil. In listening to those wonderful remarks, I'm reminded how important it is to constantly reassert the importance of the fact that Berkeley is a public institution and a world-class public institution, and how public institutions need to be enhanced and protected, especially at a moment in our history when it seems to me there's been a great deal of skepticism expressed about the very idea of the public. And it seems to me in that regard, his remarks are very important and appropriate. And it also provides me a very nice segue into the introductory remarks I'd like to make about our commencement speaker this afternoon. One of the advantages, I suppose, of inhabiting an institution for 30 years, as I have here at Berkeley, is that you become very alert to the many ways in which academicians, the members of the professoriate, contribute to the community. And of course, a university is, by definition, a community. And without that sense of community, it really falls apart. Professors can be teachers, they can be administrators, they can be research scientists and scholars, they can be policy wonks, they can be activists, they can be practitioners, they can be fundraisers, they can be all of these things. One of the many distinctions of today's commencement speaker, Professor Nizar Al-Sayed, is that he has distinguished himself in all of these areas. He is, if I may invoke cricket, what we call in cricket an all-rounder. Now, I can see by the slightly shocked look on your face that you're thinking, why on earth would I be invoking a truly weird sport as the basis for any metaphorical assessment of someone's academic achievements? But actually, I think we can and we should. Professor Al-Sayed has, since he was appointed to Berkeley 2 decades or so ago, has become really a fixture on campus. And this speaks to his multiple and many-faceted talents and contributions to campus. He's an internationally renowned scholar of the city. He's a practicing and award-winning architect. He's almost single-handedly built the Center for Middle Eastern Studies on campus into a world-class research institute, a center, incidentally, which he's directed for almost 2 decades. He serves as an associate dean within the College of Environmental Design. He's been a dedicated good citizen and played a major role in making international and area studies what it is today. He's been an exemplary fundraiser. He's made and appeared in films. Not with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, I admit, but films of considerable significance, documentary films nonetheless. He was recently awarded the university's highest teaching honor. He's a tireless speaker on the lecture circuit. And if all of this were not enough, he is now the chief architect and consultant on a massively ambitious plan to build a new city on a greenfield site near Chandigarh in India, Nano City. And it seems to me he's always been, particularly since the events of 9/11, he's been a major proponent for, as it were, free speech. He's been a public intellectual on this campus in a way that few, it seems to me, have not. I also have it on pretty good authority that he's a pretty good husband. That comes from the person on my left. And on top of that, he's a very natty dresser. You can see this, of course, by just looking at the sartorial elegance of his academic gown. He's a very, and given the average sartorial standards, or lack thereof, of most Berkeley faculty, certainly it's fair to say that Professor Al-Sayed stands out. This is, in other words, someone who doesn't have a lot of time on his hands. And in a sense, I suppose he's something of an Energizer bunny. And yet, if I can speak as both a colleague and a good friend, sometimes all of these things are not what I think of when I think of Nizar. And in some respects, I sort of think he may have missed his calling, his vocation. I mean, most academics, it's pretty clear that they could be nothing other than academics. They're so fundamentally incompetent in the world. They couldn't possibly run a bank, run a business, organize a construction site. I mean, this would be unthinkable. But Nizar, I think, may have missed his true vocation, or perhaps I should say true vocations, because I believe he would have been either a world-class labor negotiator, or maybe a sort of Perry Mason-type defense lawyer. His powers of public argumentation are astonishing. And if he passed on that one, he would have been, in my view, a stand-up comedian worthy of the Comedy Channel. But perhaps I digress. Professor Al-Sayed is currently Professor of Architecture, City Planning, and Urban Design. He's also the Associate Dean of International Programs in the College of Environmental Design. He was trained in engineering, architecture, and planning at Cairo, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, here in UC Berkeley. His areas of scholarship are wide-ranging, as I've said, encompassing architectural history, design, Islamic architecture, traditional dwellings, urban design history. He's authored 15 books, 50 and more published peer-reviewed articles. He's made a couple of films, as I'd mentioned, and has been the director of the Center of Middle Eastern Studies and the founder, I should probably say, of the International Association for the Study of Traditional Environments, one of the most innovative organizations, associations working on questions of traditional architecture and design. And since 1977, he's been a member of a small architectural firm based here in Berkeley and in Cairo. And some of his designs are award-winning, including for the Grand Egyptian Museum and the High-Deck Towers, respectively, in Giza and Cairo. But he's also designed a number of private residences in the Bay Area here, and incidentally, the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, which is another reason why we're sort of envious of Nizar. You know, if I may kvetch publicly here, I mean, my office, you know, it's a large closet, is what it is. Now, Professor Sayed's spacious office, corner office in a wonderfully remodeled building, it's something out of California Magazine or Architectural Digest. He's won a number of awards, the Beit al-Quran Award, the Pioneer American Society Book Award. He's a committed internationalist and has worked long and hard with two major universities in Saudi Arabia, the universities of King Saud University in Riyadh and Jeddah. He's been a juror on a San Francisco Arab Film Festival. He's been a consultant with UNDP, and on and on. So you can see then that my invocation of cricket and an all-rounder is perhaps not far off the mark. He's a cosmopolitan. in the most profound sense of the word. A person at home amidst the cacophony and heterogeneity of a multicultural world, and a scholar and practitioner whose life and work reflects the deepest commitment to these values. It's an enormous pleasure and privilege to introduce Nizar Al-Sayed to deliver the commencement address.
Thank you so much, Professor Watts. I think I am not needed anymore as a keynote speaker for this commencement. It is indeed a pleasure to be here. Distinguished colleagues, students, guests, it is my pleasure to be with you this afternoon to participate in the celebration of your achievements. I'm glad I have the opportunity to address the IAS class of 2008, who will graduate today from the University of California at Berkeley, one of the greatest public institutions in this country, if not the world. Although today marks the moment when you leave Cal, you will also always carry the Berkeley name with you. 20 years from now, when you are successful, and regardless of what position you hold, do not be surprised when you get a letter or a knock on the door from a Berkeley fundraiser asking you to contribute back to this great institution, which helped, in fact, shape your knowledge base and your intellectual identity. And whether you like it or not, and by virtue of your being at Berkeley or being a Berkeley graduate, you will always be labeled a liberal. I mean here the popular use of the term, one that pits it against conservative. Or, of course, you can ask if attending a school constitutes one's intellectual identity. Personal history, language, competence, travel experience, religious affiliation, ethnic background, and academic education are all essential but unequal identity constituting elements. But the latter, academic education, particularly in the case of Berkeley, is indeed foundational. Ask those who have been to Berkeley before you, and you will learn that once a Berkeleyan, always a Berkeleyan. Berkeley often pays a high price for its intellectual distinctiveness. Over the years, Berkeley, we, have been described as godless, blasphemous, subversive. It has been denounced for exposing its students to radical, unconventional, and even revolutionary ideas. And I'm not even talking about the 60s. Of course, by now, most of you are immune to this sort of characterization. But I don't think that that is enough. I believe that you also have to be proud of it, proud of Berkeley. Berkeley students have always been rebels, and I think you should cherish this legacy. For as you already know, it is not the free thinkers or the dissidents who endanger a democratic society, but rather those who accept it without question, those who are indifferent. It is they who, through their docility, threaten liberty. So what is it that you have learned at Berkeley that has formed your intellectual identity? Well, we've heard quite a bit what Hadil had learned already. You could not have all learned the same thing, because you came to Berkeley with different backgrounds and different interests. Some of you entered this institution as what you would be called possibly conservatives, adhering to traditional methods and viewing change with suspicion. Some of you chose Berkeley because you were already radicals, disposed to extreme change and wanting radical transformation of your society. Perhaps there were even a few of you who were reactionaries, favoring an ultra-conservative political position. But whatever you were, Berkeley changed you. In fact, you all now graduate as liberals in the true meaning of the term. The word liberal derives from the Latin liber, which means free, as in freedom from restraint. But the root word liber is also the Latin word for book. Many ancient philosophers believed that the only way to be free is through educating the mind. I'm not referring here to liberalism, a modern political economy ideology that I'm sure many of you in your different subdisciplines of IAS have studied. I'm actually talking about how we may return to the original sense of the term liberal, to the relationship between freedom from restraint and the education of the mind. And I'm referring to how the term is often used in common public discourse. This common parlance is a powerful tradition in the American context. You've heard a quote from Robert Kennedy. You will hear another one from John F. Kennedy. In accepting the nomination of his party in 1960, John F. Kennedy stated, and I quote, "If by liberal they mean someone who looks ahead and not behind, someone who welcomes new ideas without rigid reactions, someone who cares about the welfare of the people, their health, their jobs, their civil rights, and their civil liberties, if that is what they mean by liberal, then I'm proud to say I am a liberal," end quote. Class of 2008, despite the many different backgrounds and contexts from which you all come, despite your very different experiences here, you are perhaps more united than divided, committed to a set of values that seem obvious, yet so difficult to articulate, and even more difficult to implement in the current political moment. But let me again return to the meaning of the term liberal, the relationship between freedom from restraint and the education of the mind. It is my hope that being part of IAS has put an interesting and an important twist on liberal identity for you. For at IAS, we do not simply engage in the education of the mind. We embed it in the study of the world. In your various classes and majors, you studied other peoples, other cultures, and other places. But I'm sure you've come to recognize that this study of elsewhere is, in fact, an exercise of self-definition, self-knowledge, and self-identity. Without the study of the other, it would be difficult to trace the boundaries of the free self, the liberal self. Let me give you an example. As you may know, I chair the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, and I also chair the undergraduate major in Middle Eastern Studies here at Cal. The Middle Eastern Studies major trains students in languages, cultures, politics, and society of the Middle East. It equips them to go on to graduate school or to work for private and public institutions, organizations, nonprofits, and non-governmental organizations, and possibly even to work in the different branches of the federal government. All of this is crucially important in today's world, where the Middle East remains poorly understood and naively stereotyped. But the very foundation of such an educational enterprise has to also be examined. In talking about the Middle East as an area study, I'm always asked, the Middle East? Middle of where and east of what? In fact, the Middle East is the only area study that is not defined geographically. It emerged like other area studies during the time of colonialism and empire and got more concretized as a result of the Cold War. But unlike some of these other area studies, say Latin American studies, for example, the Middle East has always had very elastic boundaries. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, no one knew what to do with the former Soviet republics of Central Asia, from Azerbaijan to Uzbekistan. Since many of the inhabitants of these lands were actually Turkic people who spoke a type of Turkic language, they suddenly became Middle Eastern countries. So the Middle East now extended from Morocco all the way to Uzbekistan. Good. After 9/11, suddenly we started to get calls, from the press asking us for experts on Afghanistan and Pakistan, because now they were also part of the Middle East. So it occurred to me that I'm actually presiding over an immense territory which I did not know even existed. And it occurred to me that what we should do is call Middle Eastern Studies global studies, which focus on much of the world except for X, Y, and Z. The Middle East is assumed to be part of the Orient. But then, how do we define this Orient or this Oriental? For that, I will actually tell you a little story. And it is not a joke. It's not meant to be a joke. In 1888, 100 and some years ago, a reader wrote to the editor of a newspaper in Egypt, asking with some surprise, how did we come to be regarded as part of the Orient? asked the reader. Are we not closer to Europe than we are, for example, to China or to India? It happened, replied the editor, because those who study us call themselves Orientalists. Look at the logic. I hope that at Berkeley, and especially in IAS, we have called into question such geographies. That your liberal intellectual identity is one that is able to recognize that these histories and geographies, to recognize that freedom from restraint and education of the mind are constructed through precisely these exercises in the classification of the world. Of the many theorists that you have read who have imparted many lessons in any of your majors, development studies, political economy of industrialized societies, Middle Eastern studies, and so forth, none was more illustrious possibly than Edward Said, whose book, Orientalism, established the entire field of post-colonial theory. I remember standing on this very stage, almost in the same spot in 2003, with a rather difficult task of introducing Edward Said before he was to speak to this hall, packed with Berkeley students, Berkeley faculty, staff, and members of the community. It was, in fact, a few months before Edward Said passed away, and as it turned out, this was his last major public speech. The tickets for the Said event, which in fact my center had organized, were offered for free, yet they were all sold out in a matter of hours. We had a line extending out of Stevens Hall that extended literally about a quarter of a mile. An overflow crowd had to be accommodated in 2 other campus halls. That day, I remember going to Cafe Strada, as I always do in the morning, to get my coffee. It's one of the few pleasures of being a professor. There was the same homeless man who always stood outside Cafe Strada, panhandling. And as I came out with my coffee, he looked at me aggressively. As I was fetching some change from my pocket, he yelled back at me, "No, no, no, I don't want money today. I want an Edward Said ticket." It was absolutely amazing. You know, here you have a homeless person supposedly panhandling, but not only does he know of Edward Said, he knows that he's here, he knows that he's lecturing in Zellerbach Hall, and he knows what time, and he tried to get a ticket and could not get in. When I told Edward Said about the incident, he was actually very flattered. But as I was going to share this particular incident with this large audience as introducing him, I actually realized that this was as much a Berkeley story as it was an Edward Said story. So it is not only important for you to be proud of Berkeley's legacy, but it's also important for you to write about it, to talk about it, to make it common sense. You have been given the gift of education. The question is how you will use it. One of my favorite poets, who happens to share also my first name, Nizar Qabbani, urges us in one of his poems to be bold in love, to be bold in how we act in the world. He says, "I conquered the world with words. I conquered the world with words, conquered the mother tongue, verbs, nouns, syntax. I sweep away the beginning of things, and with a new language that has the music of water, the message of fire, I light the coming age, and stop time in your eyes, and wipe away the line that separates time from this single moment." So, class of 2008, if I were to give you advice on this day, your day of liberation, it would be 3 simple things. Love what you do and do it well. Take measured risks within the confines of what you know. And always take position regarding what you see happening in the world around you. It is true that in the end, we are what we know. What you know must never stop with knowledge of language, history, and culture. Your stock in trade must come to include the thrill of great achievements and the contentment of simple pleasures. On behalf of all of us, faculty and staff on this campus, I wish you the very best.
Now we will recognize some of our graduates through the Departmental Citation Award. Now, these awards have not been announced prior to this ceremony, so there may be some surprises here, including the fact that some of those being honored may in fact not be here, but we'll find that out. The departmental citation was initiated in 1955 by the UC Berkeley Committee on Prizes. This prestigious award honors excellence in a departmental field of study. Recipients are chosen because of unusual talent and promise, outstanding grades, distinctive work in their major, and contribution to the department. Only one student from each major may receive the award each year. I'm going to ask the chairs of each of our majors to step up as I announce each award. The first departmental citation is in development studies, and the winner of this departmental citation is David Richard Elliott. I'm not sure if David is here. Professor Gillian Hart is here. But we will make sure that we pass this along to David, who graduated, in fact, a few months earlier. Professor Estelle Tarica, the chair of Latin American Studies, will present the winner of the departmental citation in Latin American Studies to Melina Nikki Mance. And obviously, Melina is not here with us, the risk of surprises. So, Professor Nazar Al-Sayad, the chair of Middle Eastern Studies, will present the winner of the departmental citation in Middle Eastern Studies to Kachadur Kachadorian. Professor Jerry Sanders, the chair of Peace and Conflict Studies, will present the winner of the departmental citation in Peace and Conflict Studies to Jeffrey Vance Martin. And finally, Professor Brad DeLong, the chair of Political Economy of Industrial Societies, will present the winner of the departmental citation in PEIS to Frederick Taylor Hochberg. Congratulations again to all our departmental citation winners. I have another award to give out. This is a Special Contribution Student Award. And this award recognizes unusual contribution to the IAS-TP community. As many of you know, our entire peer advising team deserves recognition for helping the IAS-TP office, particularly this year through a period of transition. But there is one person who deserves special commendation for her 3 semesters of participation in this volunteer program, for her mentorship of new peer advisors, and for leadership in helping coordinate the International Career Symposium this past fall. This year's Special Contribution Student Award goes to Anka Jujulescu. I now invite Professor Alan Karras to introduce our honors class to you. Dr. Karras, a distinguished senior lecturer in the IAS teaching program, is director of our honors program, and you have already heard about his formidable presence. In doing so, I also want to acknowledge the work that Professor Karras does in leading this program each year and making sure that our students produce outstanding thesis projects. Alan.
I want to make you cry. Not you, you. but I don't quite know what to say, so I'll stick to my prepared remarks for now. IAS has perhaps the most rigorous honors program at Berkeley. Students who complete honors in our majors must fulfill all of the requirements of the individual programs in which they are enrolled and complete all of their other courses with distinction. Since we require foreign language courses and, in many cases, economics courses, that is often not as easy as it might at first sound, and they have to deal with me. Over the 13 years that I have taught at Berkeley, our honors program has changed a bit, moving in several different directions, sometimes even at the same time. The current iteration of the honors course is designed to keep a cohort of students working together for an entire year in a real capstone experience, one in which they can bring all of the knowledge that they have acquired together in a single and meaningful project. Our intention has been for the students to form a supportive network for each other, a network, if you will, that can share the pain. It is, in my view, a knowable fact that the students who are seated on the stage this afternoon have accomplished that which we set out to do. They have formed a network of their own that has experienced, if not shared, in the pains and pleasures of the research enterprise. They have produced honors theses of very high quality. Some of them consumed rather more energy than they imagined at the outset while trying to achieve their goals. Others seemed, and I use that word deliberately, to do the task effortlessly. They have earned my respect, our collective respect, not only for completing their projects, but for being articulate and well-read, even in the most arcane of subjects. They have achieved a level of geekiness, if that is a word, that allows them to claim expert status. I will now ask that the class rise for all of us to recognize their achievements as a group. If you would like to know who these survivors are, please check your programs as they are recognized there. Now the surprise. Finally, each year, the IAS teaching program awards an Outstanding Honors Thesis Award for the best of the honors theses. Each year, it is a challenge to select the winner, since there are so many theses on important and interesting subjects that also happen to be flawlessly, or nearly so, written. This is the time of year when these students pay particular attention to where commas go in citations, how many ellipses to use in a particular quotation, and knowing the difference between a colon and a semicolon. This year's Outstanding Thesis Award, as in many years, was particularly difficult to select. Nevertheless, one honors thesis stood out from the others in its research question, organization, methodology, and primary source analysis. Even more than in past years, the winner of the Outstanding Thesis Award makes an original and insightful set of conclusions on an important topic. I am absolutely delighted to announce that Samuel Yee's thesis, entitled Surviving Through the Post-Cold War Era, The Evolution of Foreign Policy in North Korea, is this year's prize winner. While Sam... Stay here. Let me give you something in a minute. I'm going to say something about this paper because it's something you all need to get copies of, read, and memorize, in fact. Using a variety of original sources, including several years of North Korean newspapers, Sam argues that North Korea's foreign policy changed dramatically as its Cold War patron states focused their attentions elsewhere. The paper asserts that contrary to the way it is often described by the press and policymakers in the United States, North Korea's foreign policy has been based on a highly rational calculus designed to show the Western powers that they would do well to continue to take North Korea seriously, even as its principal supporters fell away and began forging new alliances in a reconfigured political climate. Sam used the methodological techniques of framing and discourse analysis in his careful and sensitive evaluation of an underutilized body of sources, producing a final thesis that ranks as one of the very best I have seen in the years I have been supervising the honors thesis seminar. It makes for compelling reading. As I said, get your copies now, and congratulations to Sam for this richly deserved award.
So now we can turn to the conferring of graduate degrees within international and area studies. International and area studies has a number of graduate programs within its domain, and we have two of those programs represented here today in terms of students who are graduating. One consists of the master's degree in arts in international and area studies, and this permits graduate students, sometimes in conjunction with other professional degrees, to deepen and extend their graduate work in and around international studies with a specific focus, typically on a discipline and on a particular part of the world. Secondly, there is another program which falls within IAS, which is entitled the Rotary World Peace Fellows Program. I suspect a number of you here may in fact be Rotarians, and some of you may in fact know that the Rotary Foundation, Rotary International, actually funded 7 universities 6 years ago around the world to establish 2-year terminal master's programs for mid-career professionals, individuals who could come back to the Berkeley campus or to the Duke UNC campus or to the Christian University in Japan, a number of institutions around the world. And they would be inserted into a professional program of some sort or an academic program, and in addition, all of those graduates, usually around 10 students per year come to Berkeley, would be also eligible to obtain their master's degrees in international and area studies. So we have 2 sets of degrees to confer today. One individual will be conferred with the International and Area Studies, MA, and then 2 will be awarded the MA in International Area Studies in conjunction with their standing as Rotary Peace Fellows. So firstly then, it's a great pleasure to be able to invite Vanya Danilovich up to the stage to be awarded the International and Area Studies Master of Arts degree. Now we have 3 representatives of the Rotary Peace Fellows program, beginning with Renato Fajardo of Brazil, who will be awarded his MA in International Area Studies and simultaneously completed his master's degree in Public Health. Secondly, Maria Lorena Rosel from Peru, Master of Arts in International Area Studies and Masters in Political Science. Where would we be without a scroll? Finally, our third Rotarian, our Rotary Peace Fellow, and simultaneously a Masters of Arts in Asian Studies, Suresh Kakani from India.
And now it is time for the conferral of undergraduate degrees. Let me welcome two of our IAS students to read the names of our graduating seniors, Hema Patel and Tiffany Ng. We will start with the honors students.
Okay, this is the list of Bachelor of Arts with honors degrees. Sorry. One moment. Alice Marie Chamberlain. Anka Georgiulescu. Kendra Kinsey. Okay. Christina Unguranu. Alejandra Guanipa. Carlota Montes. Tamara Watnam of Latin American Studies. And now moving on to Middle Eastern Studies honors students. Artin Afkami. Kachadur Kachadurian, Middle Eastern Studies. Jeffrey Vance Martin of Peace and Conflict Studies. Tala Mohebi of Political Economy of Industrial Societies. Leslie Burke Spalding of Political Economy of Industrial Societies. Frederick Taylor Hochberg of Political Economy of Industrial Societies. And finally, Samuel Sung-hyun Yi of Political Economy of Industrial Societies. And now I will start with the Bachelor of Arts in Development Studies. LaTanya Rebecca Lester. Kristen Amber Crumley. Ryan Landon Crumley. Esther Lee. Brian Huang. Catherine Eleanor Hills. Jacqueline Marie Seitz. Aisha Gurdal Friend. Jamie Page Jones. Kendall Allen Beaver. Paulo Roberto Aniceto do Amaral. Leslie Carol Lada. Kelly Louisa Kreitz. Cindy Wynn. Margaret Lee. Tiffany Lee. Ross Lowry. Rebecca Grubman. Galen Reese Wynn Davies. Julia Kwan. Nora Yvette Medina. Guillermina Garcia. Allison Ashley Stinson. Tanya Rose Newstetter. Alex Fraser. Nadir Shums. Salma Nakuda. Shona Ganguly. Adil Iqbal. And now begin the list of Bachelor of Arts in Latin American Studies. David Tijuana Leon Lara. Miriam Giovanna Mukes. Megan Marie Jones. Mary Rose Parrish. Sasha Jenkins Ferguson. Yeah, I'm fine. Crystal Joy Plotner. Casey Nicole Payton. Now start the list of Bachelor of Arts in Middle Eastern Studies. Jennifer Marie Moganum. Daniel Robert Laporte. Baron Yilmaz. Farshad Hemati. Keon Kehani. Kristen De La Rosa. And now start the list of Bachelor of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies. Sally Torres. Mia Cecilia Briones. Carolyn Hall McMahon. Peter Lee. Paulo Roberto Aniceto do Amaral. Marie Josie Carlson. Aaron Levy. Nicole Marie Hughes. Shannon Margaret McGuire. Amos Alexander Vernon. Jessica Lee. Carlos A. Jimenez. Miriam Sadagian. Ashley Joanne Hill. Sorry. Samantha Phoenix Aguilar. Catherine Suzanne Anderson. Sasha Pippinger. Angela M. Long. Natalia Gauke. Brianne Marie Reynosa. Rudy Cabrera. Janelli Orozco Alcala. Kristen Koo. Melissa Ann Blake. Janelle Abehar Hill. Julia Astra Graham. Matthias Erwin Zäumer. Ling Mai Vong. Paula Karen Valdivia. Chang Hyun Robin Lee. Cameron Keith Waller. Chandra Rachel Munden. Sarah Boone Gavigan. Andrew Chang. Zaina Patricia Hindi. Kate Dillon. Sophia Ritchie. Emma Rosa Worldpeace. Mira Radosevich. Amy Marie Elmgren. Lisa Marie Putke. Benjamin Max Feinberg. Mariko Francis Nakamura. Casey Lee Wheat. Jillian V. Marks.
I will now begin the Bachelor's of Arts in Political Economy of Industrialized Societies. John Paul King. Ulrika Isabella Bellin. Christopher John Desvernine. Brianna Michelle Pennington. Angela Rose Vulo. Erica Marie Bautres. Jacob Alejandro Zuniga. Christopher Chang Lee. Tal Yashnav. Maurice Ani Viline Jr. Jennifer Lee Min. Stephen Jenhao Yang. Ziwei Hu. Jennifer Chiang. Jeremy Jenyu Lee. Edward J. Lee. Tomas Rafael Salcedo. Yutika Mayur Vora. Hazir Zahed Kargaran. Sam Perlman. J. Allen Bassett. Sarah Dryden. Nathan Wong. Timothy Michael Harris. Kristen De La Rosa. Mary Rose Parrish. Alina Hunyanyan. Cynthia Lee Fan. Sandrine Elizabeth Picard Palmer. Christine L. Chang. William Chen. David Do-yoon Kim. Alice Y. Lin. Brian W. Chan. Wei Shao. Johanna Flores Poblano. David Grande. Heather Schrader. Kimberly Tomiko Nakamura. Louis Wei-yu Chang. Paul Trung-to Tran. Thomas Y. Lee. Vera Bersudskaya. Anna Yansinskaya. Shangning Li. Anna Shairokova. Luz Gonzalez Fernandez. Samantha Erin Gertler. Jamie David Gulick. Sammy Tahari. Adrian Tagdiri. Chizuru Arya. Yuzin Zhang. Kaman Tui. Chun Chung Chan. Elizabeth Kathleen Miller. Kristen Elizabeth Rose. Stephanie Yojin An. Trisha Chakrabarti. Joyce Yawa Amoa. Adriana Guadalupe Frias. Lauren Elizabeth Eken Fidel. Suhasini Sumitra. Catherine Lynn Roberts. Albina Popov. David Andrew Cassie. Jia Huang. Heijin Lee. Brianna Noel Hand. Andrew Ian Gerwitz. Michael Peter Farif. Evan Davis Fleming. Erin Kathleen Odisio. Anna Offstein. Caitlin Bigham. Eugene Choi. Joelle Aileen Brown. Caitlin De La Lizari. Jonathan Cross. Lucas Lauren Hennis. Candy Chang. Jimmy Pavusiri. Rickus Erasmus Pretorius. Václav Berger. Kenichiro Nakahara. Mina Henrika Howell. Brian Patrick Whitley. Annie Shen. Bryce Austin Beamer. Kristen Marie Andrews. Carlos Neisch. Rishi N. Jaluria. Anthony Dean Burgard. Nicholas James Broughton. Tiffany Tam. Julia Can. Catherine Lee. Josie Alvarez. Michelle Vo Tran. Songmi Tran. Diana Yumi Han. Solomon Myung-ho Lee. Jasper Chang. Ryan Clayton Ledoux. Edward Allen Waverling. Yanira Paola Leonardo. Van S. Newen. Irene Ching. Jenna Tomoko Lee. Valerie Sandra Yu. Art H. Choi. Damien Wan Choi. Ellen Catherine Doby. Cindy Yushin Chow. Connie Kimberly Lim. Georgia Bachmeyer Gan. John William Charles Muse Fisher. Christina Jeanette Adrenaline. Jean Pontus. Jacqueline Renee Spear. Laureen Elizabeth Ryan. Haley Tosheko Simon. Melissa Ann Cunningham. Justin Brett Fong. Ryan Joseph Smirker. Kyle Patrick Warden. Roberto Efren Rivera. Kaylin Cunningham. Francisco Javier Lopez. Karina Trekgub. Sabba Fatima Yunus. Bisma Kasim Moon. Alia Naeem Mon. Preeti Man. Asim A. Khan. Sheila S. Lulani. Kimara Moodley. Lori Hathaway. Tonde Naguara. Marco Marinovic. Sebastian Scheider. Helen Lowe Lai. Vision Lan. Susanna Carolina Merizalde. Karen Michelle Andrade. Brian Shum. Angela Lee. Brian Kwok Do. Zorbe Ozdilik. Justin Thomas Betakere. Alexander Martin Francis.
As our ceremony comes to a close today, I'm going to request that families and friends remain seated while faculty and graduates recess from the auditorium. But before that, let me congratulate our 2008 graduates. Students, please move your tassels from right to left. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the President and the Chancellor, and on behalf of the Dean of IAS and my faculty colleagues, I grant you the degrees of Master of Arts in International and Area Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Development Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Latin American Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Middle Eastern Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Peace and Conflict Studies, and Bachelor of Arts in Political Economy of Industrialized Societies. Congratulations.